My parents and sister went no contact with me since I went to college. They said that they have to focus on my younger sister Claire and I could handle things on my own. So I did. I finished college with first class and got a well-paying job. I was doing good, but the warmth of love was what I always craved for. That's when I received a call from my mother to come and visit them as they miss me. I was on cloud 9 and too happy to see the trap I was entering into. It was a random Tuesday, and the bakery I liked had a sale on lemon tarts, my mom's favorite. So I thought, why not? I hadn't seen them in years, and I missed them. Or at least, I missed the version of them I clung to in my mind. I let myself in, like I always did, and the house greeted me with silence. No TV, no arguments about what to eat for dinner. Just the smell of old wood and a faint trace of bleach, Mom's comfort scent. My parents and sister greeted me with open arms as if they haven't left me alone for years. But I didn't want to bring back the old emotions. I just wanted to feel my family's love and care. During dessert time, my mom asked me to get the tarts I brought from the kitchen. I went, and that's when I saw it. A single envelope on the kitchen table, left just a bit off-center, as if someone had tried to tuck it out of sight but didn't quite finish the job. Final notice, foreclosure warning. The blood drained from my face. My hand trembled as I picked it up, scanning through cold, clinical words: past due, repossession, auction. Their home, the house I grew up in, was about to be taken. I heard Mom's soft steps come around the corner. Elsa. You're here. She stopped. She saw what I was holding. Oh. You saw it, she said calmly, trying to snatch it from me. You weren't going to tell me? Her eyes dropped. Her lips pressed into a tight line. What could you do? I sat down. Hard. How much? She didn't answer. So I called the bank myself. After some verifying, they gave me the number, $58,000. Months behind. Interest piling. The house would go on auction in 30 days. I couldn't let it happen. That house was filled with decades of memories, no matter how complicated. Dad carrying me on his back after I scraped my knees. Mom burning cinnamon rolls every Thanksgiving. Me and Claire, back when we were still close, making up dances in the living room. So I paid it. Quietly. No questions, no requests. I wired the full amount, and when I told them, my parents both cried. Dad called me our guardian angel. Mom said she didn't know what they'd done to deserve me. And I believed them. And with that they slowly and lovingly began to send me their bills, from food to toilet papers. Claire, my younger sister, has always had the kind of charm that gets her through life without friction. She floats. She doesn't walk, she glides. People bend around her like wind around silk. Growing up, I watched how our parents looked at her. Claire was the delicate one. The dreamer. The free spirit. She was late for everything, never followed through on anything, and somehow everyone found it cute. When I got straight A's, it was good job, Elsa. When Claire passed gym after failing twice, it was let's go out to celebrate. The pattern never broke. After college, my college, Claire never finished hers. She tried everything: photography, online yoga certification, selling handmade crystal bracelets, even starting a podcast about manifesting success. Guess who funded most of those ventures? Mom always had a reason. She's trying. She just needs support. You're so lucky to be stable, Elsa. Lucky, I worked 12-hour days. I skipped vacations. I saved every bonus, built my emergency fund and managed everything alone. Meanwhile, Claire got to be the butterfly, and I, the net. So when I paid off the house, I didn't even expect her to say thank you. I figured, maybe this time, she'd finally take responsibility, get a job, help out. Contribute. But no. She smiled and said, "Wow, that's generous. Must be nice to have money. As if I'd found it on the street. Still, I told myself it was worth it. Because it was family. And because deep down, a small part of me still loved that girl I used to build blanket forts with. The moment the mortgage was cleared, I thought I'd feel relief. But the house was still falling apart around them. It was old, weathered, tired, like the people inside it. You could hear it in the creak of the stairs, the slow drip from the kitchen sink. The way the wallpaper peeled at the edges like it had given up, too. Claire said it was quirky. I called it dangerous. So I began what would become a 3-month odyssey, Project Save the House. I handled everything. I sourced contractors. I haggled with suppliers. I studied YouTube videos at night to understand plumbing jargon and wood panel ratings. Every weekend, I was there, in jeans and a baseball cap, overseeing every nail and beam. While Mom stayed in her room watching soap operas and Claire posted selfies in front of half-painted walls, I was in the thick of it. Sanding. Measuring. Managing delays and rainstorms. I remember when the roof caved in, literally, during a storm. Water poured through the attic into the hallway. I paid $12,500 to get it redone within a week. And don't get me started on the mold in the basement. Or the HVAC unit that sounded like it was coughing its last breath every time it kicked on. Still, I pushed forward. The final total for renovation? $83,325. Not counting the countless hours I'd never get back. But when it was done, it was beautiful. Hardwood floors. Rewired lighting. A brand new kitchen. 2 modern bathrooms. I even put a swing on the porch, just like the one we had when I was 6. You did good, Elsa, Dad said. Claire grinned and took a selfie by the new fireplace. My followers are gonna love this. I smiled, tired but proud. I didn't know it then, but I was standing in the prettiest lie I'd ever built. I hadn't meant to snoop. Really, I hadn't. It was supposed to be a quick visit. I stopped by to drop off a slow cooker Mom said she wanted, along with some gourmet soup packets I thought she might like. I was halfway to the door when I realized I'd left my sunglasses on the kitchen counter. That's when I saw the folder. It was thick, bright red, and marked property records in large capital letters. Sitting right there, half tucked under a stack of takeout menus. Curiosity is a funny thing, it doesn't knock, it kicks down the door. I flipped it open. And there it was, a title transfer document. Stamped and signed. New registered owner, Claire Manning. Not Elsa. Not joint ownership. Not even a clause mentioning a financial benefactor. Just Claire. In bold, unbothered ink. I froze. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake, maybe I was reading it wrong. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was just a clerical error. But no. The date on it was last week. They had officially transferred the house, my investment, my sweat, my savings, to Claire. Not temporarily. Not with conditions. Permanently. I stood there, stomach sinking like lead. My heartbeat sounding like it came from somewhere outside of me. The world tilted. My mouth went dry. I had paid off their mortgage. I had funded every screw, tile, and window pane. And they gave it to Claire like a birthday present. I didn't leave right away. I waited. Waited for them to come home from wherever they were, Claire from her Pilates and matcha ritual, Mom and Dad from their daily walk around the lake. I sat on that new leather sofa I bought for them, staring at the fireplace Claire used for aesthetic content. I was done waiting for the right moment. The minute they stepped in, I asked, "Why is Claire's name on the deed?" They blinked, feigned confusion like amateurs. Mom recovered first. "Oh, that. Honey, you're being dramatic." Dramatic? My voice was ice. I paid for that house. Dad shrugged, not even looking at me. You helped, yes, but Claire will be taking care of it. It's better this way. She doesn't work, I snapped. She doesn't pay for anything. Claire finally spoke, flipping her hair like a bored queen. You act like you bought a mansion. It's just a house, Elsa. Calm down. Just a house? I laughed, humorless. It was my money. Claire scoffed. Well, maybe if you weren't so obsessed with control, you would have asked for something in writing. That's when I realized they never planned to honor what I did. They used me. Cashed the checks. Smiled. Said thank you like it was enough. And the whole time, they were handing everything over to Claire behind my back. You're all okay with this? I asked quietly. Dad finally met my eyes. Cold. You don't have children. Claire does. This is her future. My jaw locked. My chest felt like it was splintering. And I'm disposable? You're successful, Mom said with a shrug. You don't need a house. She does. Claire smirked. Thanks for the renovation, though. That was the moment I stopped being their daughter and became their wallet. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stood, picked up my bag, and walked out. Silent. That was the most deafening thing I could have done. I didn't slam the door. Didn't throw anything. I just left. I drove around for hours afterward. No music. Just the sound of my own breathing and a swirling storm of thoughts. I replayed every memory, the late nights balancing my spreadsheets to figure out how much I could contribute. The days I spent on site managing contractors. The weekends I skipped vacations and dates and brunches to make sure the plumbing got installed correctly. Every single effort, every moment I gave up for them, had been turned into a joke. A handout. They had mocked my trust. And I finally realized something: it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was betrayal. Intentional. Calculated. Claire had always been the favorite, but this went beyond favoritism. This was theft wrapped in entitlement. And my parents handed her the knife. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I poured a glass of wine, sat at my desk, and pulled up my files. Bank transfers. Renovation invoices. Material lists. Labor contracts. A record of every penny I had spent on that house. It wasn't just sentiment anymore. It was a case. If they thought I'd be the quiet, dutiful daughter forever, they clearly forgot the one thing Claire never had. Discipline. I didn't announce it. I just stopped. No more weekly grocery deliveries. No more quietly covering Dad's insurance premiums or paying Claire's endless utility bills just until she gets on her feet. No more birthday cash, no emergency transfers, no I'll help this one last time. I went dark. Quietly. Surgically. 3 days in, the text messages began. Mom, Elsa, the water bill wasn't paid. Did you forget? Claire, hey, the Wi-Fi's down. Can you fix it? I have a live stream. Dad, I thought you were going to handle the property taxes this quarter. No one asked why. No one apologized. They just noticed the absence of my money like it was oxygen being pulled from a room. And they panicked. After a week, the phone calls came first daily, then hourly. I let every one of them go to voicemail. My silence, for the first time in my life, screamed louder than anything I could have said. I could have warned them. I could have given them one last chance to come clean, to apologize, to try to make it right. But they didn't. They never called to say they were sorry. They only called to ask what I could still give. And just like that, they weren't family anymore. They were debt collectors in my own blood. I wasn't being petty. I wasn't acting out of revenge. I was standing up for the part of me I had silenced my whole life, the part that whispered, "You deserve better." I hired an attorney named Camila Reyes. Sharp. Practical. The kind of woman who didn't blink when I laid out the mess of receipts and betrayal in her office. They transferred the deed to your sister after you covered the mortgage and paid for all renovations? She asked, brows raised. I nodded. And there was no written agreement? No, but I have every financial record, I said, sliding the binder across the table. Dates, bank statements, contractor invoices. I even have text confirmations where they acknowledged I was paying for everything. Camila didn't hesitate. You have a strong case for unjust enrichment and constructive trust. You paid for improvements that significantly increased the property value. You can sue to recoup the money or force a sale. We filed the suit a week later. Claire was served at a pop-up art show she was pretending to curate. Mom and Dad received their copies via certified mail. I imagined Dad's hands shaking as he read the legal language. But I didn't waver. They didn't get to steal from me and walk away laughing. They weren't going to erase me from the story I helped build. They were going to pay. The backlash was immediate. The phone rang non-stop. Emails flooded in. Even Claire posted a vague story on Instagram about bitter women who can't handle success. Success, my attorney sent a cease and desist. Then the relatives started circling. Aunts who hadn't called me in years suddenly found their phones. Uncles I barely remembered messaged me on Facebook telling me family is more important than money. Where were they when I was covering Claire's failed business? Where were they when I was saving the house from foreclosure? I got a call from Grandma, too. The only one whose voice made me pause. Elsa, she said softly, do you really have to do this? I closed my eyes, swallowed the old guilt. Yes, I said. I do. She didn't argue. She just sighed. I always knew you were the strong one. The weeks passed. My parents filed a response through their lawyer, a mess of denial, entitlement, and laughable justifications. Claire tried to drag it on, claiming emotional distress, as if I had hurt her. Camila was unshakable. They're bluffing. We're not. She was right. The court scheduled mediation first. We walked into that beige conference room like it was a battlefield. Claire wore sunglasses indoors. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad pretended to yawn. I laid out every document. Every dollar. The mediator looked visibly uncomfortable when the numbers were read. Over $140,000. All from my account. Claire tried to argue that it was a gift. Camila laughed. Then why did she acknowledge repayment in this text? Claire's smirk cracked. We didn't settle. I was ready to take it all the way. It took nearly 8 months to reach the courtroom. 8 months of discovery, of depositions, of watching Claire and my parents lie with straight faces. 8 months of subtle threats cloaked in phone calls, half-hearted relatives trying to convince me to drop the case for the sake of peace. Peace. Where was peace when they handed over my investment like a party favor? The courtroom was clinical, beige walls, stale air, and the judge's steely expression watching everything like a hawk. My heart didn't beat fast that day. It was steady. Calm. I had spent too long rehearsing this moment to let fear back in. I testified first. I detailed every payment, every sacrifice, every promise. I spoke of the texts, the calls, the casual comments that showed clear acknowledgement that I was paying, and they were benefiting. Then came Claire. She cried on the stand. Said I always bullied her with money, that I offered to help out of love, and was now punishing her for having a closer bond with our parents. She played the victim well. But the numbers didn't lie. And neither did her own messages, where she thanked me for handling the mortgage again and even joked about owning a house she didn't pay for. The judge frowned when those were read aloud. My parents sat like statues. They didn't look at me once. When Dad was asked if he felt Elsa deserved repayment, He simply said it was her choice to give. I didn't even flinch. They couldn't hurt me anymore. I had already buried the version of myself that still wanted their approval. The judgment came down 3 weeks later. I sat in my lawyer's office when she opened the envelope. Her lips twitched into a smirk. We won. I didn't speak at first. The words floated in the air, fragile and full of meaning. We won. The court ruled in my favor under the doctrine of unjust enrichment. Claire and my parents were ordered to reimburse me for all payments made over $140,000, with interest. Claire was also required to vacate the deed unless she could buy me out at fair market value. She couldn't. The house was now subject to sale. And the proceeds? Split, with my share returned first. I didn't celebrate. Not with champagne or fireworks. But that night, I slept with my windows open and a clear conscience. Let them keep their shame. I had my justice. They don't speak to me anymore. Not Claire. Not Mom. Not Dad. That chapter of my life ended the day the house went on the market. I didn't go back to say goodbye. I didn't want one last look at the place I once thought of as a second home. I had already let go of the fantasy long before the trial. Claire tried to reach out once. Sent a passive-aggressive voice note about how I'd ruined everything and how money makes people monsters. I deleted it. There is no conversation left to have with people who only see your worth through what you give them. But I'll be honest, some days, I still ache. Not for them. But for the girl I used to be. The one who begged for crumbs. The one who built a house thinking it would earn her love. The one who thought family meant loyalty. She was a good person. But she was naive. I'm not her anymore. Now, I invest in things that grow, people who water me back. Friends who cheer when I set boundaries. A therapist who helped me grieve a family that's still alive. And me? I bought a new house. Small. Mine. Paid in full. The first thing I did when I moved in was name the Wi-Fi, not Claire's house. And I laughed for the first time in months. Because sometimes, closure looks like a deed in your name. And silence from people who thought you'd stay quiet forever.